Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, I'm taking you to the Ultra League, where one of the best battlers in the world, Shadowlord 2770, has submitted footage absolutely shredding leaderboard opponents with an Ultra League Shadow Electivire. Now honestly, the entire team from Shadowlord is pretty cool. On the lead is Armored Mewtwo, an underused but very strong Pokemon that's very difficult to obtain, the aforementioned Shadow Electivire, and to round out the team, a 2-14-15 insanely bulky Guzzlord. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And in game 1, off to a bit of an interesting start, leading Armored Mewtwo into Guzzlord. Now Guzzlord is going to have a massive pacing advantage, being able to spam out super effective damage with Brutal Swing, but Armored Mewtwo is very tanky. Armored Mewtwo will be able to absorb the Brutal Swings and hit back hard with super effective Dynamic Punches. This is not a great matchup for the Mewtwo, but at the very least, Mewtwo can still do some pretty solid damage. Mewtwo is at the back-to-back Dynamic Punches, but Guzzlord has the Brutal Swing, so there's a very nice catch. Shadowlord able to preserve that Dynamic Punch for later and catch the Brutal Swing onto his own Guzzlord. Now, in the Guzzlord mirror, opponent will fire off some energy, and Shadowlord has to decide, is it worth putting up the shield? Shadowlord puts up the shield, correctly calling the full send from the opponent, and Guzzlord gets a full farm down. Opponent now going to send out Tentacruel. Tentacruel going to actually take some pretty significant damage from Dragon Claw. Normally, against the Poison type, Guzzlord can't really do any damage with Brutal Swing and Sludge Bomb, but with Dragon Claw, these charge attacks actually hurt. Tentacruel knows it, Tentacruel puts up the shield, and a Scald will not be enough to take the knockout. Opponent will need to go for the nuke. They do. Blizzard takes the knockout, but in comes Shadow Electivire. Electivire gonna farm up, looking to put up a shield and overfarm an absolutely massive amount of energy. Scald comes out from the opponent. Scald does not get the debuff. Electivire farms up to 100 and will take the knockout with the Ice Punch. Ice Punch is going to be KOing Tentacruel. In the back is Talonflame, and Shadow Electivire is about to take a life. Wild Charge into the Talonflame does get shielded. Electivire makes it to a second Wild Charge, withstanding that Incinerate damage. Down goes Talonflame, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Armored Mewtwo into Virizion, an absolutely dominant lead win. Opponent safe switches into a Shadow Ampharos, and Ampharos will be answered with Guzzlord. To my surprise, the Ampharos is not even pretending like they have Focus Blast. I guess they wanted to ramp up their damage as much as possible by going for the Trailblaze instantly, but if they had farmed up to 5, there's a chance that the bluff could have forced the shield out of the Guzzlord. But instead, Guzzlord's just going to be no-shielding everything, farming up to the back-to-back Dragon Claws, and Dragon Claw will deliver the knockout. Back in comes Virizion. Virizion is still going to be taking some pretty sizable neutral damage from the Dragon Claw. Virizion going to look for a double kick farm down, and look at the Guzzlord IVs paying off. 2-14-15 Guzzlord, the 1 HP survive to make another Dragon Claw. In comes Mewtwo. Confusion goes through as the opponent will land the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade does not do much. In the back, the opponent is going to have a Thundershock Belly Bolt, and this could be a tricky game to win. Belly Bolt shielding up the Psy Strike, and out comes Shadow Electivire. Electivire instant no shield as the opponent will go for the Parabolic. Parabolic not going to do a ton to the Electivire, and Electivire is going to be winning the charge stack priority tie as it fires off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch, double shield comes out from the opponent. They are really investing in this Belly Bolt, trying to ramp up its damage as much as possible. Electivire still going to be no shielding. Electivire not really in danger of getting farmed down at the moment. Electivire now going to go for the Wild Charge. Wild Charge still does some pretty sizable damage, and out comes Armored Mewtwo. Mewtwo again with the no shield, holding on to those Protect Shields because the opponent just doesn't have fast move pressure. Mewtwo will finally use the first Protect Shield of the match at the absolute 11th hour, and Mewtwo will continue the farm. Mewtwo gonna have to deal with the fact that this Belly Bolt has boosted its defense to the absolute moon. Psy Strike lands, it is not enough to take the knockout, and Mewtwo is forced to put up the final shield. Keep in mind, Viriz does have energy, and what a read from Shadowlord, predicting the snipe, getting the catch, and that's over for the opponent. Mewtwo farms down, opponent sees the writing on the wall, and concedes the match. We move to the next match, picking up an incredible lead, Armored Mewtwo into Lapras. Opponent is going to safe switch into Florges, and this team does not have a good response to a Florges safe switch in the back. Florges will fire off the Chilling Water, immediately debuffing the Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a Pokemon that can actually win neutral matchups against Florges just because Mewtwo has really consistent fast move pressure, and Psy Strike is an incredibly efficient charge attack. Another Chilling Water comes out from the Florges. Mewtwo continuing to stay on the field, just trying to get as much damage as it possibly can. Psystrike lands, that's going to be putting the Florges pretty close to red HP. Florges goes for another charge attack, and again, Armored Mewtwo is going to no-shield, but this time it's finally the Moonblast. In comes Electivire. Electivire going to look to try for a one-shield farm down. Opponent going to go for the Chilling Water, debuffing these Thunder Shocks. It's going to be close. Can Electivire get there? No, Electivire cannot. Florges with the 1 HP survive, and that's going to force an Ice Punch from the Electivire. The Electivire is up on energy. In comes Typhlosion, answered with the Guzzlord. Opponent is going to pivot and bring in Lapras. Having a Wild Charge banked on Electivire is always a really good spot to be, because this opponent, even though they do have Ice Beam, what they do not have is a resistance to Electric on their team. Dragon Claw lands, that does do some nice damage to the Lapras, making it to Dragon Claw number 2. This is going to put the Lapras pretty close to the red HP. It actually does put them below 25% health, and they will need to go for an Ice Beam. A Sparkling Aria will fail to take the knockout. They go for the Aria, that's not going to cut it, and that's going to cost them. Guzzlord, by correctly no-shielding, now gets the Brutal Swing. That's going to take the knockout. Back in comes Typhlosion, and that's going to be answered with the Electivire. And this poor Shadow Typhlosion, it's not surviving. Back-to-back Wild Charges loaded, opponents forced to call the bait, and that's game over. We move to the next match, leading Armored Mewtwo into Pidgeot. Pidgeot, honestly a bit of a blast from the past. I feel like I haven't seen Pidgeot in quite some time. Mewtwo gonna farm up here. Mewtwo trying to go for a CMP tie on their Brave Bird, because Brave Bird will obviously put their defense at -3, but they don't go for the Brave Bird. Instead, they go for a Feather Dance, which does basically no damage, but lowers Armored Mewtwo's attack stat considerably. Armored Mewtwo gonna go for the Psystrike. Opponent makes a catch onto Hippowdon, and thank goodness this Hippowdon was safe switch. Hippowdon would be an absolute nightmare for the Electivire, but luckily, Electivire gets to dodge that matchup, and instead, out comes Guzzlord. Guzzlord, not too worried about a Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands, a pretty okay attack, but Guzzlord in the Ultra League able to tank it very comfortably, and Guzzlord will look to take the knockout with the back-to-back Brutal Swings. First Brutal Swing is going to connect, immediately followed by Brutal Swing number 2, wanting to lock in a knockout before the opponent can make a second charge attack. Opponent's going to send in Florges as their final Pokemon, and Guzzlord is forced to pivot out. Back in comes the Armored Mewtwo. Mewtwo launches Psystrike, the shield comes up from Florges, and the good news is the opponent did get rid of their only electric resistance. So hopefully this is Shadow Electivire's game to win. Chilling Water takes the knockout, gonna wait down the switch timer, because the only use for Guzzlord in this game will be onto the Pidgeot. Opponent does have enough energy for the Moonblast. Shadow Electivire, Savage Bait Call, no shielding, calling the Chilling Water, and that is an absolutely amazing read. Electivire shielding up a Chilling Water. Unfortunately, with the 2 attack debuffs, this means that a Wild Charge is now not going to take the knockout, so Electivire will go for the Ice Punch. Electivire going to switch into the Guzzlord. Guzzlord going to fire off Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is resisted. This is the Ultra League. Florges will be able to hang on. In comes Pidgeot. If Pidgeot shields this, they lose the game because they lose charge attack priority to the Electivire. Opponent knows it. They're going to let it go, and they're going to go for farm on the Florges. Oh no, Florges may be able to take home this win. Electivire has to hope that Thunder Shock knocks out, but it is a debuffed Thunder Shock. It does not knock out, and now Electivire has 1 win con. If they're 1 HP, a shielded charge attack does 1 HP of damage through the shield, and they were. Florges had exactly 1 HP left. They get KO'd through the shield. What an unbelievable ending to a pretty crazy game. We move to the next match. I don't know how we can possibly top the drama of that previous match, but it's going to be Armored Mewtwo into Florges once again. Florges not even building up, instead just going to go for an immediate debuff on Chilling Water. Armored Mewtwo gets a shield with the Psystrike, and Mewtwo more than happy to no shield as Florges spams out these Chilling Water debuffs. Armored Mewtwo makes Psystrike number 2. This is -2 attack, so the opponent is going to be no shielding. Mewtwo still going to be no shielding as well. Opponent still only throwing the Chilling Water, and that's going to cost them. Look at this Armored Mewtwo, what a tank, making it to another Psystrike. Opponent double shields, and presumably that's just going to cost them this game, because now in comes Electivire. Electivire more than happy to absorb Chilling Waters. They've only thrown Chilling Water this entire game. Electivire going to try for a farm down, but unfortunately the opponent makes a last-second charge attack, and that forces a shield from the Electivire. In comes Gastrodon. That's going to be answered with the Guzzlord. In the back, they have Corviknight, but Corviknight, unless they get a boost on the first Air Cutter, I think they're in trouble. Air Cutter lands, no boost comes through, and that is a massive swing for Shadow Lord. Brutal swing from Guzzlord, not going to do much, but it doesn't take a lot of damage to put a Corviknight into Wild Charge range. Guzzlord farming past 100. Guzzlord potentially setting up to go for the snipe here of the Wild Charge. Air Cutter is going to land. Opponent reads the snipe, but Shadow Lord stays in. Shadow Lord baited his opponent so hard in this game. He farmed to 100, making it seem like he was going to combo. Opponent switched to try and catch, but he just stayed on the field. Opponent got absolutely bamboozled. Shadow Lord is just on another level. Oh my goodness. We move to the next game. Armor Mewtwo into a Sucker Punch Belly Bolt. Sucker Punch is hitting for super effective damage, but Belly Bolt doesn't do a lot of damage neutrally here. Parabolic is going to land. Armored Mewtwo is able to hang on. Armored Mewtwo now just shy of the back-to-back Psy Strikes. Launching Psy Strike number 1 at the Belly Bolt. Belly Bolt will put up the shield. Belly Bolt does get to a second Parabolic. Armored Mewtwo would love a 1 HP survive here and gets the 1 HP survive. That is incredible for the Armored Mewtwo. Mewtwo now gets to land some damage, and then in comes Guzzlord. Guzzlord is a complete wall to the Belly Bolt. Opponent is going to be pivoting out, and they send in Credilli. Credilli is a problem because unfortunately, Credilli is going to do great against the Electivire. So you can't really send in the Electivire, and you're kind of forced to keep the Guzzlord on the field. Guzzlord's able to land the Dragon Claw, but Rock Tomb is going to inflict some pretty significant damage. Guzzlord going to fire off another Dragon Claw, but this is a -1, which means Credilli is not too worried. Guzzlord is going to actually get a free Dragon Tail as the opponent fires off another Rock Tomb. This game is going to be won or lost by Electivire. Electivire is going to switch in as the opponent sends in Belly Bolt. Belly Bolt does have a ton of energy. The shield comes up. It is going to be the Parabolic Charge, boosting up their defense. And now Electivire will look to try and take a knockout with Ice Punch. The opponent has buffed up their defense. Fortunately, they do not get to another charge attack as Electivire farms down. Electivire now has a bit of an energy head start. Opponent is going to be bringing back in Credilli. Credilli going to get knocked out by the Ice Punch unless they put up the shield. Ice Punch is going to be shielded. There's the switch to Guzzlord. Opponent is going to get a catch onto Golisopod, reading that combo play. Great play from the opponent. It's a Shadow Claw Golisopod, making the Dragon Claw. But is this Dragon Claw going to do enough damage? It's going to have to put it into farm down range for the Electivire, and I just don't think this is farm down range. In comes the Electivire. The opponent is always going to be able to make a move on the Credilli, so the only play here for the Electivire is to try and farm down. Electivire can't farm down. The narrowest of margins, Electivire forced the Cap tie on the CMP tie, and that will lose the game, as they do have the charge attack loaded on the Credilli. That is unfortunate. A very close game, but unfortunately, a great read by the opponent anticipating the combo play is what swung it back in their favor. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, leading Armored Mewtwo into Stunfisk. Opponent safe switches into Florges, and this team, as we've seen, doesn't really have a good check to the Florges safe switch, so the no-shield from Mewtwo, and now out comes Electivire. Electivire going to be no-shielding Chilling Water, and look to start firing off some wild charges at the opponent. Electivire farming up to the back-to-back, winning the charge attack priority tie. This is a -1 wild charge. Can it take the knockout? We'll never know. Florges puts up the shield. Now Electivire could potentially get Fairy Winded down. The Chilling Water is going to land. Opponent is going to switch into Stunfisk. And oh my goodness, Electivire is able to save 2 wild charges. The opponent, by switching out, I feel like actually put themselves in a bit of a worse position, because with Thundershock, they had less fast move damage. So now there's an Electivire with back-to-back wild charges loaded, which is never a position you want to be in. The Stunfisk can't really do any fast move damage into this Guzzlord either, and Guzzlord is able to continually chip away with Dragon Claw. Another no-shield comes out from the Guzzlord as the opponent will go for the Mud Bomb. Back in comes the Florges. Quick switch to the Armored Mewtwo. And Armored Mewtwo banked a Psy Strike from earlier. Psy Strike launched at the Florges is going to land. Florges hangs on 1 HP survive. And Florges is going to leave with a parting gift of a Chilling Water debuff. Opponent's going to be sending in their final Pokemon. It's a Hex Drifblim. Seeing Hex on a Drifblim is a pretty big surprise. Typically, if you see Drifblim, they're on Astonish, but Drifblim isn't played a ton anymore. Drifblim goes for the Icy Wind that will not KO the Armored Mewtwo. In comes Electivire. Electivire going to go for the Ice Punch. Ice Punch does also cover for a catch from the opponent. Shield comes up on the Ice Punch. There's the catch attempt onto the Stun Fisk, but instead of a triple resisted catch, they catch super effective damage. Electivire just not enough health remaining to make a last second Ice Punch. In comes the Mewtwo. Opponent throws one Thunder Shock in the move, so that way the confusion damage does not register. Mud Bomb will take the knockout. In comes the Guzzlord. Guzzlord gets the full Dragon Tail farm down. Guzzlord exits up a ton of energy. Guzzlord is going to be launching Brutal Swing at the opponent. Brutal Swing lands, immediately followed by Brutal Swing number 2. They were just never hexing down. It looks like the opponent has closed out of their application. Even so, Brutal Swing will be securing the knockout and taking that win. Hopping into the final match, Armor Mewtwo into Florges one final time. Florges is an absolute meta staple in the Ultra League. This Florges is actually building up, bluffing like they could potentially go for the Moonblast. No shield, and they do. A Florges that actually full sends. Opponent tries for a catch onto Galarian Moltres. They do not get it, and now out comes Electivire. Electivire farming up past the Wild Charge, going to go for an Ice Punch bait. Ice Punch bait does get called. A nice call by the opponent. Recognizing Electivire would have incentive to bait, so it didn't debuff its defense. Fly will be shielded. Electivire does get a full farm down. If the opponent has an electric resist, they're sending it in here, and oh my goodness, they do not. In comes Talonflame. The Ice Punch bait from the Electivire gets the shield. Opponent going to be sending in Florges now. Florges is going to get rocked by a Shadow Wild Charge. Wild Charge lands. Good night, Florges. And back in comes the Talonflame to be swiftly answered with the Guzzlord. Guzzlord always going to be no shield in the first. Opponent will never go for a Brave Bird on their first charge attack. And Guzzlord, it's just too healthy. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. All in all, these were some incredible games. Many thanks to Shadowlord for sending them in. Shadowlord's a battler who I've had the privilege to battle a few times, and we've had some absolutely crazy games in the past. So I was well aware of how incredibly cracked of a battler Shadowlord was. So to have Shadowlord reach out and say, hey, I've got some really fun footage from the Ultra League, something very exciting for me. I'm still not over the game in which he baited his opponent into making the game-losing play, farming over 100 energy on the Guzzlord, making it seem really obvious that the Wild Charge snipe was coming, and then just not going for the snipe, staying on the field, watching the opponent over-predict, and switch Gastrodon into that 100 energy Guzzlord just to get absolutely crushed by the back-to-back Dragon Claws. This is a game that has so many levels to it, and it's an absolute treat to get to watch one of the best players in the world play against absolute elite competition, because my goodness, battle after battle, these were absolute heart stoppers. And again, big thank you to Shadowlord. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And an extra special thank you, as always, to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.